that scorecard. So we just want to make sure that you guys know how to use that because you participated in the report. And thank you very much for doing so. Mike, did that cover what you needed me to cover?
Yes. Thanks, Denise. I appreciate it.
Great.
Hopefully. No, go ahead.
I'm just going to say I'm going to go on mute, but feel free to call me out if a question comes up that you need me to weigh in on. Okay?
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. So what I'd like to cover first is comparison groups. Let me put into context where I am right now on the platform. I'm set up as a test person. So this would be the home page or landing page, rather, if you access the database, whether or not you've paid for a subscription or not, you would still have access to this part of the database. So I'm a test person, and I'm set up as a demo hospital. Your organization would be here. So based on this, you can see we have a drop-down menu. The first part of the process is obviously already done. You filled out your survey. So now we're into the report process. So as I mentioned, what I wanted to cover first is comparison groups. So if you click on that, you'll come up with a menu that will show you your personal groups, shared groups. These are groups that you can share with people within your organization, and then public groups. So basically, the public groups are available to everyone. If you log in, you have your credentials, you'll be able to see these public groups. What you would not be able to see is personal groups. These are only going to be the groups that you have created. As you can see, we already have 5 or 6 of these created. So what I'm going to do is show you first how to create a comparison group. So the easiest way to do that would be to click on this button here. It's a new group wizard. This will give you the criteria that you can use to sort of drill down to where you would like to start comparing your group. There's a couple of groups here. This is a HSPLG, it's a data sharing group. This is specific to Trinity. And I wanted to say at the outset here that the menu that I'm seeing may differ from what you see. My test person is set up as someone who has advanced roles. So advanced subscription. So I would basically be able to see everything. The vast majority of organizations that participate are non-data sharing organizations. So I'm going to choose that as our criteria. I'm going to go ahead and choose US. And here's where you can choose what type of, how many years you want to look at. We can look at, let's just say we'll look at 2016 and 2015. You can see a drop-down menu here. We can either choose all groups or all organizations that participated in 2016, 2015, or any groups. We'll just leave it as the default. And let's see, we'll just go ahead and set up a variable, pick a variable here. Say number of direct fundraising staff. And we can just say between 1 and 5. Okay, what this will do is based on that criteria, it'll search and try to find how many organizations fit that bill. So as you can see, it's already produced this. We have 48 organizations that meet that filter criteria. And this is from A to Z, or A to W in this case. And what we would like to do then is save the comparison group. So in order to save it, you need to come up with a name. We'll just say, let's see, FTE between 1 and 5. As you can see there, there were other, I've set up other comparison groups. If you start to have it, you'll see that there's character saved so that you can, if you just wanted to change the criteria, you wouldn't even have to type in the all of the extra information there. Okay, so there it is. That's our new comparison group. And again, this would only be seen by your organization or people within your organization who have access to the database. Let's go ahead and do one more. So we'll get back to the new group wizard. Let's use the same demographic and basic group criteria. And let's choose, we'll keep that at all, 2015, 2016, and then we can just go with fundraising expense budget, let's say between 500,000 and 2 million. Let's see what we come up with there. So we have 31 organizations there. We'll go ahead and save this group as well. Let's see. Let me go back and check our list, and then we can see that we have 2 new comparison groups in our personal group. I mentioned shared groups before. This would be being shared within your organization. If you just click on that arrow, sorry about that. Let's move that back up. The arrow here, the down arrow, will allow that to be shown in your shared groups if you want people within your organization to be able to see that as well. Let me see one other thing here. Combined groups, this might be something that you would be interested in. And again, you can do this for either your personal groups or the public groups that you have access to. So let's see. We'll just combine the 2 that we had just set up. So let's say fundraising expenses, 500,000 to 2 million, and then let's see, those non-data sharing organizations. And I'm just going to use the predictive text here. We'll just call it combined group 1, and we'll create that. So you can see we have 31, based on the criteria when it filters through, we're going to have 31 organizations in that, and there's the combined group. So I kind of covered a lot there. Let me just open this up and see if anybody, I'll take the mute off if anybody has any questions, or if you wanted to type in any questions. Again, I know that I've kind of gone over a lot of information there, but that will give you an idea. And then again, this is available to anyone who participated in the report. This is something that would be very helpful to you. You can see the metrics that your organization is interested in comparing yourself with other organizations, and you know, you're going to be able to be in a position to share information within your organization based on these groups. Okay, let me do this. So we've set up comparison groups. Okay, let me see, we just got a question here. Explaining the limitation box. Sure, excellent question. Basically, when you're creating comparison groups, AHP is very interested in protecting the confidentiality of the organizations within this database. So you can create a new comparison group. Let's say I created the one that had 1 to 5 full-time employees. If I wanted to create another one, and I just created a new comparison group, and I didn't change the criteria very much, or if I was looking at something, I was drilling down that was a little more specific, like between 3 and 4 or 3 to 5 or something like that, and I changed the number by 1, let's say, it wouldn't allow me to see a comparison group unless that group differed from the previous one by at least 3 organizations. And again, the important part is highlighted in red here because clearly if you created a group and then deleted it, you could still have saved that information. And it's all just basically to protect the confidentiality of the companies that are participating. I hope that answered your question. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get into the reports now. Because based on the comparison groups that you create, you obviously want to see that information in a report. Now, this menu, I said at the outset that my role as test person P for this demo hospital, I'm able to see everything. So this is the menu that you would see if your organization paid for advanced access. And you can see here, there's 3 tiers. Basically, for all report on giving participants, you would have access to the scorecard. So if you participated in the report and you log into this database, you won't see basic or advanced menus, but you will see the scorecard. And then obviously, if you just have basic subscription, you're going to see down to here. In advanced, you're going to see everything. So what we'll do is just work on it based on what you would see for everyone. So if you logged in, the first thing that you can look at here is the scorecard. So, and then for comparison groups, if you remember the ones that I just created with this FTE between 1 and 5, the fundraising expenses here, and this filter, and then the combined group, you can see the public groups as well, and then some of the previous groups that had been created. But let's just go ahead and go with 2016 report on giving participants. That's very robust. So you see there's 204 participants. You can check or uncheck this. My focus organization is Demo Hospital, and yours would be whatever organization you represent. But if you didn't want to see your group in there for some reason, you can just uncheck that. So what you'll come up with is a slideshow. There's an introduction that gets into what you see, what's the metrics that you can view within the report. There's a drop-down menu. This gives you some information on interpreting return on investment cost to raise $1. But let's just go ahead and jump to the first page here. And this is the scorecard table. Your organization would be the highlighted organization in yellow. Demo Hospital has information apparently for most of these, not the total endowment. But what you can see here is a number of data points to look at. You got the mean, you have your median, you have quartiles, and then you have 10th and 90th percentiles. And as you can see, there were 204 organizations total, and they're represented in most of these categories. As far as the number of organizations in the comparison group. When you're looking at these, if you're not unfamiliar with one of these metrics, if you hover over anything that's underlined, you're going to see a quick explanation for each of these. Let's just go ahead and go to the next one. This is a return on investment cash and production graph. So as you can see here, demo organization, or demo hospital is noted here. So the production ROI and the cash ROI are slightly above the median and the mean for the group. You could export this into Excel as a CSV file. Let's say that, for instance, your organization only provided total cash, total production, and total expenses. So when you go back to this previous scorecard table, you're obviously not going to see very much information here. You're going to see these two, but you're not going to see a lot of these other metrics because you didn't provide the detail in that. If you exported that to Excel, then you could go back and fill in the information that you didn't provide in the report and then come up with something usable in Excel to compare yourself, assuming that you have that information. If it's something that, for whatever reason, is not available to you, or you don't feel like your organization is comparable this year, if you're coming out of a capital campaign or just starting one, maybe that's something that you would not want to have, and you just want to know from the comparison group what the group is doing, rather. This is another one, a cash and production graph of cost to raise $1. You can see the demo hospital is falling slightly below the median for this for production and also for cash. And again, that report would be free for everyone. So let's get into the next level here. You have additional reports for basic subscribers. So this is a 5-year table. So when you're looking at this database, you can see that there's a lot of history when you're looking at those public groups. One of the things that would be important is to not necessarily use the most robust group here. What this report will do is it's an Excel file. It's going to take a little while to populate, so I'm not going to actually run the report, but you would have a report with basically 8 tabs with a 5-year history for each of them with a graph. It would open up in Excel. It would be return on investment, cost to raise $1, fundraising expenses, staff, the usual high-level metrics. And we'll just go ahead and choose Canada here. And then when I click on this, what it'll do is it'll give me a report, the Excel report. As I said, I'm not going to open it up. It's going to take a while to populate. But it's a very useful report because then you can look at information over time. There's another reports here: total gifts, cost to raise a dollar, return on investment for cash, and the same thing for production. So we'll go ahead and open that up. I'll just go ahead and leave this at 2015, 2016. And you can see Demo Hospital here apparently needs to get their act together and provide some more information. But you'll see the same breakouts that you saw within the scorecard, where you have mean, median, percentiles, quartiles rather, 25 and 75, and then percentiles, 90 and 10. Based on this information here, and this is, again, the first page, so you would just look at the drop-down menu. You can look at major gifts, plan gifts, corporate foundation. And if you were able to give a lot of detail when you participated as far as revenue, then this is going to give you a lot of information, a lot of data points to compare. Again, this is something that you could throw into Excel, create some graphs, and it would be very specific if you created a comparison group that allows you to look at a lot of these data points and compare yourself. Let's see, get back to predefined reports. You'll see two other reports here. These are survey summaries. So you can see no compensation data and then compensation data. For both of these reports, you may or may not have provided compensation data, but your access to that would be restricted based on AHP giving you the credentials, depending on who in your organization should see compensation data, and obviously that's not everyone. So this is the same report as this. These are going to be Excel files. I'm not going to open these up either. It's going to take a while for it to populate, but you could look at it with or without compensation data based on a summary basis. Let me get back and see. Did anybody, let me just go ahead and unmute everybody. Does anybody have, if you're on phone, if anyone has any questions, or if you have any questions, if you're not listening, if you're not talking, rather, if you want to just type in a question, I can easily go back and get that for you. So moving down the list here, well, the last section is for advanced subscribers. If you participated previously in this as a report on giving, as a benchmarking participant, you would probably be familiar with most of the, I think the first 6 or 7 here. I think maybe down to like fundraising ratios. All of these where it says section reports, these are all new for this year that AHP developed based on following the survey instrument. So whatever you filled out online, this would go, section A is the basic information, and then you go through fundraising staff, and then expenses, and finally in gifts received and expected, and then these other areas here. All of these reports are new, and they're going to give you a lot of information based on how much level, what the level was that you actually participated in. Let's just go ahead and click on annual gifts first. Let's go ahead and choose report on giving participants. Actually, well, let's just go down to the ones that we set up earlier. Say fundraising expenses, 500 to 2 million. We'll go ahead and include our focus organization again, Demo Hospital. Still no information. But again, this goes back to looking at drilling down into the number of organizations. The minimum number that can be included here, as you can see, these numbers are getting a little bit lower. The minimum number where something would be shown is 6 in each comparison group. And then you would also have to keep in mind the caveat at the beginning that each new group that you create, each new comparison group would have to differ by at least 3 from the previous group. So it's not too much of an issue if you're looking at things within a range that will give you, decent double digits, more than 20, I would say. You can probably change the criteria, and it's not going to be an issue. But if you wanted to drill down and say, 500 to 750,000, something like that, then presumably it's going to get pretty tight down here, and you may or may not be able to actually see a comparison group that's within that narrow of a range. But you would just keep that in mind. You can create as many groups as you want, but even if you delete a group, the database will not allow you to create another one that would not be different than 3. You'd have to have at least 3 different organizations within that to create a new one. You see, I think I just got a couple of messages here. Oh, okay, thanks, Denise. I didn't see that. So hopefully, we had a question about the smallest size hospital that can be selected for comparison, and Denise has correctly pointed out that you can set it up by any size. I was just happened to be using a pre-existing comparison group. And thank you, Denise. The webinar is being recorded. Let me go back to predefined reports again. So that was just one area. Most people, let's say if you participated in the report on giving previously, most of these areas, if you filled the gifts, revenue that you received in detail, these areas are going to give you a lot of information. Where it's going to be very difficult for you to see your organization is clearly if you, for whatever reason, weren't able to provide much detail as far as revenue in a lot of these reports. They're still going to be useful to you because you can see, based on the comparison group that you set up, you're simply not going to see very much information from your group because it's really going to depend on what level you provided. Let's go ahead and choose one of these section reports. I'll go ahead and change this criteria. Let's do it based on our combined group. For you, those of you who joined late, what I did was I went through and I showed how to create a comparison group. And I created one group for direct full-time employees, fundraising employees between 1 and 5, and fundraising expenses for organizations from $500,000 to $2 million. And then I combined that group. So this combined group will be these 2 comparison groups, which basically organizations would fit into both. So we wind up with this group here. These are gifts received and expected. So the demo hospital is pretty decent size here, but not a lot of detail. If that would be the way that your organization reported, again, you can export this as a CSV file, get it into Excel, and then you could go back and fill in the blanks if it's something where you wanted to compare your group, but you simply didn't provide the information in the report previously. Getting back to the number of groups here, this is still pretty healthy. I mean, we're in, well over 20 into 30 for these comparison groups. So the combined group, once you start combining groups, it's very important for everyone, especially if you share that within your organization, for everyone to know what this means. So my shortcut here for the webinar is probably a little too vague for anyone within your organization to understand. So I would just recommend that you take the time to say exactly what this is, whatever you're combining. And it is sort of a procedure, I would imagine. If you're not familiar with it, you probably have criteria that you think about within your organization that you would compare yourself to other organizations, whether it's the type of hospital, or whether it's a system or not. If it's based on the region, number of employees, budgets, whatever it is. And once you start combining those, you want to be very sure that everyone is aware of what they're looking at, so that it's not something where they can't understand it. Go back to the menu again. Again, for those of you who joined us late, what this menu is showing is a list. If you were an advanced subscriber to the AHP database, this is the menu that you would see. If you did not subscribe to the database, but you did participate in the report on giving, what you would see is this scorecard, and that's the report that you can access for free. You could create your own comparison groups. You, however, would not see the areas below here for basic and advanced subscribers. I guess I wanted to see if, Denise, did you want to get into the pricing at all? What I'll do, I'm just looking for the piece of paper right here. Yeah, okay, I have it. What I'm mentioning, the advanced and the basic subscribers, if you're...
I'm sorry, Mike?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute on the platform, so I apologize for that. So I just unmuted myself. There's some yard work going on outside the building here, so hopefully you can hear me okay. So we have three levels. Yeah, that's what it sounds. Can you hear that?
No, that's this time of year.
I think that's what it is. Yep, that's what it is. So we have three levels of participation. The free scorecard is available to everyone. And again, keep in mind the comparison group data is where you will get the most value from that free access as a participant. The second level is available for members at a fee of $6.95 for the year, and that includes the 5-year trend monitors, the total gifts cash, all programs, total gifts production, all programs, and then survey summary information. We have the ability to lock out viewing aggregated compensation data by role. And so if you choose to subscribe, we would provide you with the user access you would need for those folks in your shop who would be running the reports for you. And you would need to make that determination on whether or not the person should be able to see aggregated data or not. That's the second level. The third level is the advanced subscribers. And as Mike said, this is where submitting very robust data comes in handy, because you can look at your operations by program area a little bit more in depth. And there's also variable by variable information in the sections of the overall report available to those who are advanced. That subscription fee is $12.95 for the year. There's a non-member rate as well. I believe it's about a $300 difference between members and non to subscribe. Mike, do you want to show the 5-year trend monitor, or have you already done that? I apologize, I'm kind of multitasking here.
Well, I didn't show it. It's going to take a while to populate, and then there's
it's
an
very
issue.
fast. You want me to show it? Can you pass the ball? I can show you how to do a monitor 5-year trends report. It's fairly quick.
Sure.
Sure. I don't know if do you know how to do that?
Right now.
Make me the presenter. If not, you can go ahead and, oh, okay, here we go. So, download. Actually, I think it's going to have to be, why don't we go back? I would cancel out. I don't know. Can you see my screen now?
I can't, but
okay,
that everybody else can.
It says me, presenter. Let me just see. Can someone go on, pop on the phone? Can you unmute someone or everybody? I'm going to log into the survey tool.
Yeah, okay, I unmuted everyone.
Can someone tell me if they can see the AHP, sorry, login information incorrect? Or are you seeing the old screen? Yeah, I don't think it's working. Oh, here's the message. Let's see. I don't think it's working. So maybe go back and just, I would recommend that you click on the 5-year trend report. Can you take it back?
Yeah, actually that just, I think that knocked me out of it.
Oh, let me see. Leave the meeting. Oh, I think I've just ruined your webinar single-handedly. Is there...
Well, I think it's like I went over it. I tried to explain, the details in it. It's a lot of information. I think the thing I ran into last time when I got the Excel file up, then I can't share 2 screens at the same time. So I think that was the issue.
Yeah.
But let me just go ahead. I'll go ahead and make myself the presenter again.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you'd do. Okay, I can see that again. So click on Monitor's 5-year trends just to show how quickly that runs. And you'll need to change your, do you have a focus organization at all?
My focus is demo hospital.
Okay,
so
yeah, it shouldn't be that, it shouldn't take that long to run.
What I'm going to do is I'll run it, but I don't know if I want to open it up.
It's done. I would open it up.
It's done right here.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Okay, I'll give it a shot here. I don't know if everybody's going to be able to see it.
What I really want to show is on this 5-year trends report, the tabs across the bottom.
Right.
Oh, that's what you mean. It's taking a while to open from your side. It doesn't take that long for me.
No, it's just what's shared. Can you see this now?
No. Oh, I understand. I apologize because it's not, you'd have to flip back to your desktop. That's what you mean by you're only seeing.
Yeah.
See the report. Yeah. Well, I think what might be a good action item from this is we should download a few sample reports and send them out to the folks who've dialed in and let them take a look at it. And you and I can follow up on that after the fact if it's tough to download these. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a good point because, again, hopefully everybody can see my screen again. This would apply to the also the survey summaries reports here that Denise had mentioned. These would also download as Excel. So we'll set that up next time so that everybody can have access to that in advance.
And I'll send a sample 5-year trends report out to all the folks who subscribed to the webinars for this fall, so that those who have not logged in to try it out can see it. That's a really good point.
Okay. Did anybody have any questions? I've unmuted everyone, but it looks like a lot of people are probably, you know, listening in different areas, but may or may not have access to a phone.
Yeah. Why is board monitor on the top of the scorecard table?
I can answer that. That is kind of the term that was used when, so out of context here, this platform was developed by a group of members, I guess about 10 years ago. And we have over the years refined it to make it a little bit more user-friendly. But board monitors is kind of what he's referring, Mike, to the definitions across the top where it says summary board monitor : cash ROI. Those were the terms that were identified by the group of members that wanted to put together key metrics that they give to their boards. The board monitors cost to raise $1. That's where the term came from.
Thank you.
Yep, good question.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a good question.
And then you want to hover over each of those, Mike, to show that if you're not quite sure what's included in, for example, net fundraising revenue production, it's defined. Just to show everyone what each of those terms mean.
Right. Yeah, and that goes, as I said, anytime you come across an underlined area within any of these tables that you open up, it's going to have a shortcut definition to sort of help you so that you don't have to minimize that and go back and look for something in case it's something that's not intuitive to you, or it's not something that your organization is that familiar with. For each of these, that's going to be the case. Did anybody else have any questions, or if you want to type something in, please feel free to do so. What I think, maybe to close this out, Denise, I know there's a couple of people who I could see that popped in late. Maybe it would be a good idea for me to just go back and just create another comparison group, a new comparison group, just so that that's something that everybody's seen.
And while you're doing that, for those of you who are comfortable creating comparison groups, the more you use the platform, the easier that will become. But there may be some comparison groups that, as an organization, we can set up and share with everyone. If you create a comparison group that you really like, that you think that would be helpful for all, you walk through how to make it public, right, Mike?
Right.
You can keep it just for you, or you can share it to the public domain. The other recommendation too is if you can't quite get at something that you'd like to create a comparison group for, please don't hesitate to give me a call or Mike a call. We want to make this as user-friendly as possible, so we're happy to see if we can create a comparison group for you if you're just not able to get to what you think you're trying to get at.
Yeah, thanks, Denise.
Yep.
Again, what I did at the beginning here was I showed how to create a comparison group. This says your personal groups. If I went back to the home page when I logged in, I'm a test person at Demo Hospital. So that's how I have access to this. Your organization would show up here, your name would show up here. And then to go back to the comparison group page, you can see it says your personal groups and shared groups. These are personal groups that you would share within your organization with someone else. And the personal groups are ones that you create, and they're not visible at this point to everyone else. Public groups are visible to everyone. So let me just go in and just create a new comparison group. So we go to this new group wizard. You can choose the groups. What I'm going to do is choose non-data sharing organizations. It's going to be the largest number of groups that participated, or organizations rather participated. And then you simply filter based on the criteria. I'll just go ahead and leave this as 2016. You could choose previous years here, and you can see the default is all, but you can actually choose any as well. So the any would create a larger number, presumably, because you wouldn't have to participate in every year in order to be included. And then for the survey variables, there's a drop-down list. Let's just choose net entity system operating revenue. Okay, what you want to do is add that, and then you want to choose what, how big your organization should be. So let's just say between 10, let's see, 10 million and 20 million. And then we'll just search and see what that comes up with. Not very big, so I'm not going to be able to save that. Let me make it 50 million. And see what we have. Okay, that comes up with 18 organizations. And again, this is net entity system operating revenue, 10 million to 50 million. So clearly not tremendously large organizations. So we'll go ahead and name that. Let's see. Okay, and then we'll just go ahead and save that comparison group. And then you can see that that is now added to our list of personal groups. Then I mentioned about the shared groups here. What you could do is decide to share this new group that you created, a new comparison group. And you'll see it's down here. So this will be, again, within your organization, someone can see what you created if you wanted them to take a look at this for some reason internally. So that pretty much gives you an idea of how to create a comparison group. So anybody else have any other questions or any comments? I guess not. Well, I want to thank everybody for being on the call today. As I mentioned, as Denise mentioned, and yes.
Mike, I apologize. There is one question. How quickly do you think we'll have the recording available to walk people through the comparison groups?
I can
put you on the spot, but
no, for this one.
Yeah.
For this, yeah, I can send it to you tomorrow, actually.
Okay, that's great. And then we'll send a note out to everyone that the recording is available. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
Sure. Absolutely. Okay. Well, again, I want to thank everyone for coming to the webinar. As Denise mentioned several different times, you can contact her, you can contact me, or my company, Association Research. We're very interested in helping you. And if there's something that you don't understand, please just send us an email or give me a phone call, and I'd be happy to walk you through anything. I guess that's
and also for me, for those of you who are interested in subscribing to the second or the third level, just send me an email and we can take it from there. And my email is denise@ahp.org. Thank you guys for your time today, and have a wonderful holiday.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.